Good afternoon and a very warm welcome to this live broadcast of the Parliamentary Broadcasting Unit in conjunction with KBC on this Thursday, July 20th, 2023. In the order of business today, the Senate will look at the Public Finance Management Amendment Bill, National Assembly Bill, number 16 of 2023. This is a bill by the Senate Majority Leader, and it's in the first reading. The Senate will also look at the County Government's Additional Allocation Bill, National Assembly Bill, number 23 of 2023, also by the Senate Majority Leader, which is also in the first reading. In the second reading is the Persons with Disability Bill, Senate Bill number 7 of 2023. This is a bill by the Senator Crystal Asege MP. This is a resumption of debate interrupted on Thursday, 18th July 2023. In the Public Finance Management Amendment Bill 2023, which will be the first order of business this afternoon, this is an act of Parliament to amend the Public Finance Management Act and for connected purposes enacted by the Parliament of Kenya as follows. The act may be cited as the Public Finance Management Amendment Bill Act 2023. There are some amendments to that bill that will be discussed this afternoon, including the Public Finance Management Act herein refers to the Principal Act is amended in Section 2. In the definition of the county public debt by deleting the word public and inserting the following new definitions in their proper alphabetical sequence. The financial obligation means outstanding liabilities related to public debt, including principals, interests, fees, commissions, and other expenses incidental to the raising of public debt or its repayment, and shall be charged on the consideration fund and another public fund established by the national government or any of its entities. Also in the order of business today, the Agriculture and Food Authority Amendment Bill, Senate Bill number 13 of 2023 by the Senator James Murango MP, which will be on the second reading. The Equalization Fund Administration Bill, Senate Bill number 14 of 2023 by the Chairperson Standing Committee on Finance and Budgeting, which will also be in the second reading. Another order of business this afternoon, the County Licensing Uniform Procedure Bill, Senate Bill number 9 of 2022 by the Senator Mariam Sheikh Omar MP, which will also be in the second reading. Also in the second reading this afternoon is the Tea Amendment Bill, Senate Bill number 1 of 2023 by Senator Wakili Henry Sigei, MP. The Kwanza Technopolis Bill, Senate Bill number 2 of 2023 by Senator Gloria Orabo, MP, will also be in the second reading. The County Boundaries Bill, Senate Bill number 6 of 2023 by Senator Moses Kajwang will also be in the second reading. Entering the chamber now is the Speaker of the Senate. I'll hand you over for the live broadcasting. My name is Doris Gitonga. Enjoy your viewing.
Let us pray. Almighty God, we beseech you to behold with your abundant favor and blessings us, your servants, whom you've been pleased to call to leadership positions in this republic. We seek your guidance to treat and consider all matters that shall come under deliberation in so just and faithful a manner as to advance the peace, prosperity, and welfare of our country and of those whose interests you've committed to our charge. Amen. Clerk, do we have quorum? Sergeant at Arms, kindly ring the quorum bell for 10 minutes.
The Speaker of the Senate has ordered for the quorum bell to be rung. This is part of the standing orders of the Senate, where it states that the quorum of the Senate or the Committee of the Whole shall be 15 senators. The quorum at commencement of the sitting of the Senate. If there is no quorum present when the chair is taken at the time appointed for the sitting of the Senate, the Speaker shall immediately after the prayer order the bell to be rung for 10 minutes. If no quorum is present at the expiration of the 10 minutes, the Speaker may direct that the bell be rung for a further 10 minutes, and if there is still no quorum present, the Speaker shall adjourn the Senate forthwith to the next sitting. Just to continue to recap in the order of business that is expected this afternoon, there's a motion of incorporation of the intelligent water management system in building plans for sustainable living. This is a motion by the Senator Wahome Wamatangi MP, that aware that water is an essential yet scarce resource whose demand is increasing rapidly due to population growth, urbanization, and industrialization, and whose wastage has become an issue that needs to be addressed urgently owing to Kenya's vulnerability to climate change, and noting that there is growth in the number of buildings coming up to accommodate the rapidly growing population, thereby posing a challenge to water management. Appreciating that the incorporation of water management system in building plans, including a variety of techniques and technologies such as rainwater harvesting, wastewater recycling, low-flow plumbing, and sensor system that detects leaks and deactivate water flow when necessary, thereby optimizing the use of water by eliminating water over exploitation, wastewater management, and pollution. The motion goes ahead to say that now, therefore, the Senate urges the Ministry of Lands, Public Works, Housing, and Urban Development, in coordination with the Council of Governors and the National Environment Management Authority, to incorporate into the building code and standards a requirement for intelligent water management system in all building plans, and undertake a systematic nationwide renovation to government-owned buildings to incorporate water management system. This will be a resumption of debate interrupted on Wednesday, 14th June 2023 during the morning sitting. There's a balanced time of 1 hour and 23 minutes. Also, another motion to be deliberated today in the Senate is a motion, report of the Senate delegation to the 67th session of the Commission on the Status of Women, held in New York from 6th to 17th March 2023. This is a motion by Senator Fatma Dulo MP, that the Senate notes the report of the Senate delegation to the 67th session of the Convention of the Status of Women, held in New York from 6th to 17th March 2023, laid on the table of the Senate on Thursday, 29th June 2023. Also, a notice that will be before the Senate this afternoon, The Senate resolves on 15th February 2023 as follows, that pursuant to Standing Order 111.1, the Senate resolves that debate on a motion not sponsored by the majority or minority person or a committee shall be limited to the following manner. A maximum of 3 hours with not more than 20 minutes for the mover, 20 minutes for the majority party official responder, 20 minutes for the majority party official responder, the quorum seems to be achieved at the Senate. I will hand you over for the continuation of the live broadcast. My name is Doris Getonga. Do enjoy your viewing.
Clerk, proceed to call the first order, please.
Order number 1, administration of oath. Order number 2, communication from the chair. Order number 3, messages. Order number 4, petitions.
Honorable Senators, I hereby report to the Senate that a petition has been submitted through the clerk by Supply Chain Management Assistance concerning the discrimination against other health workers in the Ministry of Health. As you're aware, under Article 1191 of the Constitution, and I quote, every person has a right to petition Parliament to consider any matter within its authority, including enacting, amending, or repealing any legislation. Now, Honorable Senators, the silent issues raised in the said petition are as follows. 1, that supply chain management assistants currently working in the Ministry of Health in the county governments are employed by the Ministry of Health and offer essential services such as receiving, storing, and issuing pharmaceutical and non-pharmaceutical items, among other duties. 2, the supply chain management assistants work on weekends, holidays, and on emergency duties without any allowances. The supply chain management assistants are not considered in the distribution of allowances of those who are working in hospitals, despite the compendium of remuneration and benefits for the public service, December 2022, requiring all health workers, including the supply chain management assistants, to receive health service allowances and extraneous allowances. That the petitioners have made all efforts to have this matter investigated and resolved, but the relevant bodies whose responses have not been satisfactory. That none of the issues raised in this petition are pending before any court of law, constitutional, or any other legal body. The petitioners therefore pray that the Senate, 1, takes the necessary steps to ensure that supply chain management assistants working in the Ministry of Health at county level are given health service allowances and extraneous allowance. 2, compel the ministry to come up with a strategic way of identifying all supply chain management assistants currently attached to the health departments. And 3, takes the necessary steps and ensure there is no discrimination of any form against other health workers working in the Ministry of Health. Honorable Senators, pursuant to Standing Order 237, I'm supposed to give a leeway for senators who wish to make any intervention on this for 30 minutes. However, there is a petition report by JLAC Chair, which I will allow that to happen, and thereafter I will allow 15 minutes for any intervention on this particular petition. So as I resume my chair, I'll call the chair, JLAC, to proceed to give us his petition reports.
Thank you very much, Honorable Speaker. Mr. Speaker, sir, I beg to lay the following petition reports on the table of the Senate today, 19th of July, 2023. Mr. Speaker, report of the Standing Committee on Justice, Legal Affairs, Human Rights on a petition to the Senate by Mr. Nayan Savla concerning the delay in developing and launching a victims' rights charter as provided for under the Victim Protection Act number 17 of 2014. And Mr. Speaker, second report of the Standing Committee on the Justice, Legal Affairs and Human Rights on a petition to the Senate by Mr. Paulo Mosbey, and 19 others concerning historical injustices suffered by the Torobek community. Mr. Speaker, these two petitions, or rather reports, have been at length dealt with by the committee. And Honorable Speaker, in the first petition, that is by Mr. Savla Nayan, this was reported in the House on 3rd of May, 2023, and it was thereafter committed to the Standing Committee on Justice, Legal Affairs, and Human Rights for consideration. Mr. Speaker, the salient issue in the petition relates to the failure to develop, launch, and operationalize a victims' rights charter as required under Sections 19.4 and 32.2 of the Victim Protection Act number 17 of 2014. Mr. Speaker, ancillary to these were questions on the establishment of the Victim Protection Board as an unincorporated body and the operations of the board since its establishment in the year 2016. Mr. Speaker, in considering the report, the committee met with the petitioner where we sought to establish and understand the background to the petition. The committee further, as a victim, or rather the petitioner as a victim of crime, he felt that he would have received much better assistance from the state if the operations of the Act had been operationalized. Mr. Speaker, Mr. Salva, as I've said, was a victim of crime, and he sought for support and assistance from the relevant government agencies, and it was unfortunate that he was unable to be assisted, thus leading to his option to approach this House in form of the petition. The committee further engaged the Office of the Attorney General and Department of Justice, who submitted written responses to the petition. A summary of it, Mr. Speaker, that was received had the committee committing itself in deliberating on the same. Mr. Speaker, having considered the submissions by the petitioner and the response by the Office of the Attorney General, the committee made various observations which are set out at Chapter 3 of this report. I will definitely not go through each and every chapter of this particular report. And of importance, Mr. Speaker, is the observation that the committee did arrive at, including one, that the regulations to establish the Victim Protection Trust Fund were yet to be approved by the National Treasury under the Public Finance Management Act, that is Act number 18 of 2012, and that victim services were yet to be rolled out across the counties as envisioned under the Victim Protection Act. Honorable Speaker, arising from those observations, among others, the committee made two key recommendations. One, Mr. Speaker, is that the Office of the Attorney General and Department of Justice to set up a working group on implementation of the Victim Protection Act, Act number 17 of 2014, including to review the draft Victim Rights Charter, the draft Victim Protection General Regulations and Victim Protection Trust Fund Regulations, and to submit a status report to the Senate within 3 months of tabling of this report. Secondly, that within 6 months of tabling of this report, the Office of the Attorney General and Department of Justice to submit the Victims Protection General Regulations and the Victims Protection Trust Fund Regulations for approval by the National Treasury under the Public Finance Management Act 2012 and by Parliament under the Statutory Instruments Act 2013. Mr. Speaker, in terms of what the committee and this House can do, the committee undertook, and it indeed committed itself to initiate a review of the Victim Protection Act to address the textual conflict between Section 19.4 and Section 32.2 of the Act, as well as Section 31, which is requiring incorporation of the victim protection as an incorporated body. The committee further, Mr. Speaker, undertook to commence a comprehensive post-legislation scrutiny exercise on laws enacted by Parliament which are yet to be fully implemented, focusing on laws within the thematic mandate of the committee. Mr. Speaker, this was informed by the desire to ensure that whatever laws that we enact in this House, they are followed up for purposes of implementation, because the business of this House is not just to ensure laws are enacted, but to ensure that the laws which have already been enacted indeed serve the purpose with which they were put before the House for enactment. Mr. Speaker, as I conclude, allow me to thank the members of the committee for their diligence and insights during the consideration of this particular petition. I also wish to thank the petitioner for bringing this matter to the attention of the Senate, as well as the Office of the Attorney General for the submissions made in the response to the petition by the Office of the Attorney General. Lastly, I wish to thank the officers of the Speaker, Mr. Speaker, your office, as well as the Office of the Clerk, for the support that was accorded to my committee during the deliberation of this particular petition. Mr. Speaker, it is now my pleasant duty, pursuant to Standing Order number 238-2, to present the report of the Standing Committee on Justice, Legal Affairs and Human Rights on the petition by Mr. Nayan Savla regarding the delay in developing and launching a victims' right charter. Mr. Speaker, I beg to table. Secondly, Mr. Speaker, allow me also to highlight on the second report of the committee, that is on the petition that was submitted to the committee by one Mr. Paulo Kiprotich Mosbey on behalf of the Torobek community, that was reported to the Senate on the 22nd of February, the year 2023, following which it was committed to the Standing Committee on Justice, Legal Affairs and Human Rights for consideration. Mr. Speaker, the salient issue in the petition relates to the victim, or rather eviction of members of the Torobek community from the Mau forest and other forests across the country, without either being resettled or compensated. The petitioners also alleged to have been systematically marginalized and discriminated against by the colonial and subsequent governments, including in access to employment opportunities and government services. The petitioners therefore prayed that the Senate intervenes by ensuring that the community is recognized and treated fairly as other Kenyans, and in the case of the ancestral lands that they allege to occupy, that they have lost through evictions, that their members and members of their families and the community at large be resettled, if not be compensated. Honorable Speaker, the petition facilitated the committee members to conduct a site visit in Molo sub-county in Nakuru County, where it met with and listened to first-hand accounts of the petitioners and their representatives. This was to enable the committee, Mr. Speaker, to understand who the community are, where they are found, the plight of the community, the interventions they have sought so far, and whether the same have been successful, and the remedies that they were seeking from the committee and from this honorable House. Mr. Speaker, the committee subsequently held meetings with the National Gender and Equality Commission and considered written responses submitted by the Kenyan National Commission on Human Rights, the National Land Commission, and the Office of the Attorney General. All these as summarized in the subsequent chapters of this particular report, which for purposes of my tabling today, Mr. Speaker, I will not get into them. Honorable Speaker, having heard from the petitioners as well as the other stakeholders, the committee made various observations which are set out in Chapter 3 of this report. These relate to the claim of marginalization and discrimination of the Torobek community, the question of resettlement or compensation for loss of their ancestral land, the delayed implementation by the Kenya government of the judgment of the African Court on Human and People's Rights on the Ogie case, and the failure by the Constitutional Commission on effective discharge of their mandate. Mr. Speaker, sir, the committee was particularly concerned that the historical land injustices claimed by this particular community has been pending at the National Land Commission since it was admitted to consideration in the year 2021. Had it been addressed, then the petitioners would not have had to approach the Senate on the same matter. The committee was also concerned that while the National Gender and Equality Commission has been in existence for over a decade now, it's yet to come up with guidelines on how to evaluate who qualifies as a minority or marginalized community, and is further yet to document and map the minority groups and marginalized communities in the country. Honorable Speaker, arising from the observations on the petition, the committee made 3 key recommendations. One, Mr. Speaker, is that the National Land Commission expeditiously investigates the issue of historical land injustices against the Torobek